Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Do and Drew Conspiracy. We have myself, Mr. Andrew, and my lovely co-host, Mr. Do.
Rise and smile!
And we are here to conspire with you!
You!
Everyone, all the people who want to conspire on beautiful and loving things. So, if that is you, you're in the right place. Come here to do the thing. And we'll start with a little breath work. We're going to keep it real simple today. We're going to really calm the nervous system and just do a real round breath, like a 5 second in, 5 second out, just circular. Okay? And so if you can get any wiggles out, close down the eyes if you're able, and just kind of settle in. And then take a nice deep inhale.
For 5.
All the way in, yeah. And then out slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in. All the way to the top. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5. And one more deep in. And out. 4, 3, 2, 1. There. Woo! Yeah, that feels good. Feels settled in, feels relaxed. So
Here we are.
This is the week of the day where we give thanks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one, but it seems to be like a whole big thing.
Turkey Dale.
Also that. And so we thought we would take a little opportunity to just offer a quick gratitude prayer. And this is something that I've incorporated into like a lot of my walks by myself and stuff like that. When I feel like a certain amount of like presence, I just settle into the moment and then I sing this. And you probably have heard it before if you've been on the internets for like a long time. But it's real simple. It's, Lord, I thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain. I thank you for joy. Thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. One more time.
Lord, I thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain. Thank you for joy. Thank you for pain.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. And you can say beautiful Dale if you want to really, get into the Do and Drew conspiracy of it. Yep. But I don't know. It's like a really calming, simple, like almost like mantra that makes me feel grateful, even when it's raining outside, or if the sun is out and it's shining and it's amazing. Like to appreciate the full experience of life here on planet Earth.
And the weather in Colorado Springs has been pretty much ideal, except, yesterday it rained, but we needed it, and just because it's rain and might be overcast doesn't mean that it should be down. So, basically, the weather's been amazing. It's also been, I talked to Hackensack, and it's been amazing in Hackensack, so it seems like the Lord is really, like, taking over the world, or at least, maybe the nation. But, this is, once again, my first collection, Seraphim on Cusp of Spring. And this one is a little, it has a rhythm to it, and it's called Ideation of Being in Love. I want to hold you, kiss you, and embrace simultaneously. I want to stun you with the inside of my intelligence. I want to have healthy liaison without self-medication. I want to be intimate with longing body and clear mind. I want to hug you on the beach of your island paradise. I want to converse with you until the death of the sun. I want to grab you with the strength of my loving arms. I want to read you all the poetry you can ever inspire. I want to adore you with every resource of a happy heart. I want to fill you with an amorous desire to be my gal. I want you to be the woman to whom to dedicate my soul. I want to speak the same things as strongly as I want you to seek the same things as strongly as I do. I want us to find romance many people think impossible in these times in which the apocalypse seems imminent. Always the apocalypse.
Always. It's romance and love, but it's got to have an apocalypse.
Yep. Well, that's the only thing that makes it worthwhile.
Oh, shit.
And that sort of like sinks right into our subject about am I God? Is Dale God? And that was the joke that got me taken away and put in a cone of silence for 50 years. But really, I meant it as a joke. I mean, come on. And I remember my best friend in the program, Randy Koff. Isn't that a classic name, Randy Koff? But anyway, we were in the kitchen in the program together, and we're at the table, and she says, "Dale, I thought you were joking when you said you were God." I said, "So did I." So, but basically, I've become very convinced that I'm not God. I know I'm Dale. I thought I was God, and it took me 50 years to get out of that delusion, and finally popped the water balloon above me, and my delusion popped, and I was just washed in the knowledge of the Lord, and I became Dale again. And basically, I feel that I, as Dale, in the next 10 years, have to do everything that I was supposed to have done.
Get to? You get to do everything you were supposed to.
I get to do everything that I would have done in the last 50 years, but now it's just going to be concentrated and it's going to be intense. But as for whether I'm God or not, I'm Dale. Dale means valley, and I always think of my friend Andy Peterson, who was my best friend from Dartmouth, and he was a philosophy major. I think I mentioned this, but his favorite philosopher was Nietzsche, who's also my favorite philosopher. In fact, I think Nietzsche is the only philosopher. And but anyway, so Andy said, summarized Nietzsche's philosophy is make all your summits Dales, and God is the summit, and basically Dale is the valley. And I feel that I'm the endless Dale between the Alpha and the Omega. And therefore, if I die, well, the joke's on me. It's the joke's on the world. But basically, I feel that like my mission has been to get everybody down from the heights of the summit of God to the dale of earthly reality. And that's where we're all living. And that's, whether you want to see it as stuck or liberating is up to you. And I feel I've been stuck for the last 50 years, but now I'm liberated. And I hope we can bring that to you too, all our listeners.
Absolutely. Well, that was an amazing intro for sure. To the topic of the Dale. Yeah, I think there's something to that. I mean, I guess, when you can like see the beauty in everything, isn't that what it's really we're talking about? Is like the summit's becoming Dales is like it's acknowledging that it's all beautiful no matter what.
Well, it's also constantly striving to overcome yourself, and then when you get to that overcoming, to come back down and begin the next journey up to next summit.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, it does seem to be a repetitive process. I've definitely felt that cycle play out a few times.
I really don't think it's a loop. I mean, hopefully it's not a loop where you're just like climbing the same mountain every time and everything. Hopefully you're moving from Pikes Peak to the next mountain, which is even higher.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think a lot of times that we think we're moving, we think we're going Dale to Dale, and actually we're stuck in Dale to Dale. And basically, I sort of see Dale as like the primordial energy in a dot. They say the Big Bang began with nothing, but then something happened, and the universe. What we know is the universe became like the size of an atom, and was so compact that it exploded, and that's how the universe began.
Yeah.
But basically, I feel Dale is that primordial dot, and then Dewey is 2 dimensions, 2 dots, and then Dew is 3D, and it goes all the way up to Dialene at 9 dimensions.
Yeah.
But basically, my 5 basic personalities, Dale, Dewey, Dew, Duck, and Genius, are the new Quinity that is replacing the Trinity as a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, because Jesus is genius on the Dialena. So trust in genius whenever you need help.
Yes. And for the record, we use Jesus and Yeshua sort of interchangeably here for those who are curious. There's sure, all that sounds lovely, bro. I mean, it's a unique way of structuring your reality, is what I would say. And my reality is structured a little differently to the extent it is structured. But yeah, I mean, I think the point is the journey is similar. Like we're moving through expanding in consciousness and our ability to attend to this world and be present. And we've had a lot of practice now.
Right. Over
the last several weeks. We've been together basically a month now, and during that time, right, like our ability to be present is allowed like a deeper and more intimate connection to where like we kind of we understand each other on a deeper level, right?
And a lot of the things that we needed to know about each other, we now know, so that we can really communicate on a deep level.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like any new person, when you start communicating, you start using terms, and all of a sudden it's like, well, what do you mean by that word, right? Because there's words that mean big things. Love means a big thing. Christ consciousness is a big thing. It's like, or it can be, right? And so we've been defining our terms as they come up for review, and that's like, to me, that's my biggest process of like getting to know someone and being able to just communicate super efficiently is like learning the words, the word.
Of course, every communication is an exchange of language, and I admit it. Basically, I'm a different language, and I appreciate you, Andrew, for taking the time to learn my language. But I think by learning my language, one of the YouTubers I follow very closely is Carol Elizabeth. She has a channel, Carol Elizabeth Speaks, but she just talks
solid plug there, bro.
Yeah, that's okay. But she talks about like the container and everything. I got sidetracked, but basically, so Dale is a Dale is a concept I've known all my life, and as I say, I knew what Dale was up to 20 years before anybody else did, except my mother, and she's the one who put me in the hospital in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I think in an interesting discussion is to what degree am I schizophrenic and delusional, and to what degree am I just in my own absolute reality? And that's really what it comes down to. And Andrew and I have been discussing this, and basically your friend said, you said, I have a skill at maintaining a delusion that it really is like a skill that I've honed over 50 years. But as your friend Dijon said, a delusion is just a vision that no one else understands. And I feel reconciled, or at least satisfied that I'm finally getting the point where my delusion is going to be understood and used as a inspiration to other people.
Yeah, it feels true. Now, there's definitely some things the universe is like we're reorganizing to allow more things, more opportunities to flow in, and it feels like there's an energy in the air. I mean, we feel it, and there's real things. Like I have this trip that's starting to form up to travel with some cool people, and so anyway,
I know what I wanted to say about Kara Elizabeth is
okay.
She says we need a new language, and basically it's the old language that's always been there. Everybody's been speaking Dale ever since I was born, but it's just a matter of realizing that Dale is Dale Dewey Do Dialina is the new operating system in the new language, and therefore you are very special people because you're at the very beginning of what Lord Do God and Drew Christ are going to blow up into.
It's true. We're definitely at the beginning, but it's happening.
And talking about the apocalypse, I feel that finally, I mean, with the death of Fred, which we discussed in our earlier shows, basically we are beyond the apocalypse. If you made it this far, if you made it to November 25th, 2025, then basically you have an immortal body. And and you just, the way you learn to ride it, to drive your own spaceship, is to go Dale to Dale.
There you go, y'all. We're here. We're doing it. We're alive. It means we're good to go. We're immortal. Just don't even worry about it. It's all gonna be fine.
As my mantra was: no Fred, no fret, no threat, no stress. Get some rest.
We had a whole episode about the Get Some Rest one, so
right.
You guys feel free to check that out. But yeah, it's been an amazing weekend. We had our community meeting with some of our good friends, and it was very stimulating. And then I had another community meeting with the Way of the Heart and Dharma Glow, and this organization that I've been, tuning into more. And then our own conversation, sort of like that, kind of flowed from some of that. And a friend of mine that I met in India has kind of come into the field too, and she's like super activating, super like charged up type person. So there's just a lot of beautiful energy in the field right now, and I want to take, like, that's what I want to really acknowledge. And as that pertains to our conversation about what does it mean, these terms that we're using, what is True Christ, what is
Dialina, for that matter,
what is Dialina, they're all stemming from this idea that we're the creators of our reality. And, we watched this beautiful neuroscientist woman last night sharing her perspective on how the brain and nervous system is wired to engage with what we perceive as reality. And, so kind of really understanding the foundational sort of
paradigm.
Yeah, because like there does feel like there's components of reality that there's a consensus around. How about that? And as consensus shifts, our reality shifts. That's how I feel. So it is important on some level. I think that's where the external world comes in, is to understand what the consensus kind of is. But then within us is to know that we are still like the creator of it inherently. And I don't know, it's a bit of a mind fuck for me to fully comprehend that. But the bottom line is, what is your experience in this life? Like, that's the results are what matter to me. And the results that I am experiencing, that we are experiencing, is these deepening and beautiful connections, opportunities to share what we're learning, what we're experiencing in community where people get it, right? And to activate each other, to uplift each other, to encourage each other in our respective journeys. And to me, that's a very Christed frequency, as I understand Christ consciousness currently.
Right. Well, it's Well, people always used to say to me, well, I go to the hospital and I'd meet people who thought they were Christ. I'd say, okay, fine, but I think I'm God. And I remember like 2 or 3 of my therapists would say, why did you choose God? How'd you come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, he was the top guy, So,
he figured out the hero's journey a long time ago. If I'm going to write the story, I'm going to be the top guy. Obviously, duh. And it's like anyone who wants to write a story that's lesser than that is certainly entitled to. There's plenty of other cool stories, but you just understand that you're creating a somewhat lesser experience, probably.
Well, you talk about gravity, and basically that's what everyone is, the center of gravity of their own universe. And we might have Kat Colette on soon, but she's an astrologer who talks about the 0 point and how the 0 point is on your astrological chart, and that's where everything expands from. And it's just like, if you understand the idea of like increasing gravity, so Einstein said, if you pass the speed of light, you'll become infinitely heavy. Because I'm not sure exactly what the thinking behind that was, but basically, if you become the more you travel beyond the speed of light, the heavier you become. And heaviness is what creates gravity. So basically, the fact, I've been talking about moving at the speed of Dale for a long time, but, people say, well, there's nothing faster than the speed of light, and there's the speed of Dale thought. But, but having been traveling for so long at the speed of Dale, my internal gravity has been getting greater and greater every moment. And now it's just like a point where I am the center of my universe, which is also come to encompass everybody else's universe. And that's the idea of the omniverse, is that the omniverse is the convergence and the convergence of every human universe. So basically, every like creative universe. So, but just getting to that point of where you see yourself as your own starship traveling through the void of the forever reality. That's really like a major point where you can really start to grow.
Yeah, how you guys doing on that? You got your starship assembled yet? Do you have a name for it?
Took me 50 years to build mine, so if you don't have one yet, don't worry, he's got time.
Yeah, I don't know if I've built my starship yet, so good thing I have some time, I feel.
Well, you got the Dialina, you're number 2 on the Dialina, Andrew.
See, I didn't even have to build it, I just
right.
Poof.
Zip us up.
Yeah. I move with ease and think good things happen. That's the new reality, and it is true. And so, let's bring more of that in. I think there's a certain frequency in it's like the coherence of the field. That's kind of we were watching this thing about network effect, basically, and how if you're connected to 10 people and those people are connected to 10 people, how long before you're connected to everyone that exists? And that came to the 6 degrees of separation, and we did the math. It very much checks out, and of course this thing went way deeper into all of that. But the bottom line the thing that I took away was this idea of shortcuts. And shortcuts are people who are connected to people outside of their immediate surroundings. So, whatever. So, like, for example, Dale is now a shortcut for me because he knows people in a place I would never associate, right? Or no one really that I know would probably associate either, right? Currently, no. So now I have a shortcut to this other place. And like my friend Nastasia, who I was talking about earlier, she's in Bangalore, India, and travels around everywhere. So she's a connection now that has like all these forks out too. And so the more shortcuts you have in your like circle of influence, the fewer degrees of separation there is between you and everyone.
So just to clarify, so basically, you begin with a network of like local people, and the shortcut is people who are outside that network who bring in a completely different set of people into your network.
Yeah, into your second, third, fourth layer, whatever it happens to be, right? Because we were just riffing, we were having a conversation, and I'm like, if we went 3 layers deep, how many people is that? And, you know, I had imagined a pretty big number, and then, of course, I don't know, this thing's listening or whatever, and so it just pops up into the YouTube algorithm, a thing dedicated to explain just that. But the bottom line is, yeah, in a random network, you know, it's a smaller number because you're connected randomly, but that's not how the real world works, right? You connect mostly with people who are clustered around your physical location, and so that was, like you said, that was the point of the shortcuts, is to extend your reach effectively and connect, you know, one layer away from a whole other network in a whole other place. And so anyway, it got me thinking, because we're building something here. There's a community element to the conspiracy is meant to be held in a community. And so, you know, what are the shortcuts, you know, that we have already in our network that would allow us to push that, to spread that out in like an efficient way to like a large audience. And so it got me dreaming about that. And now there's all these little things coming in of the shortcuts that I know, you know, like Dale, like Dijon that we mentioned earlier, like Nastasia, like there's all these shortcuts that are now coming in more and more, and I think it's going to allow like this frequency, this conspiracy to spread like a virus.
Which
I don't believe in, by the way.
Of course, hysterical, incurable psychotic bliss is the most infectious virus there is. So,
and we've rebranded that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's incurable hysterical bliss or marital bliss, depending on what happens with Velvet and the Empress.
Sure.
But because
it's not psychotic, it's actually quite sane to be in a state of bliss. Just for the record.
Absolutely. So yeah, something came into my head, but I can't remember it. I know what it was exactly. Speaking of being in the present moment and remembering what I forgot, so the whole idea behind Dale isn't like who I am, or, you know, whether I'm God or Dewey Doug or whatever. The whole idea is to concentrate yourself in the present moment. So that's what I say. You know, in order to reach Dale, all you have to do is just like take 3 deep breaths and just say, I am Dale. I mean, to give it an example, I am Dale in Colorado Springs at Drew Christ's home, where I'm a happy guest, and we're heading into Thanksgiving, and we're recording this podcast.
And it's 3:33 p.m.
3:33. Yep. But that's all you need to do is Dale. And just like focus and feel your body in the present moment. And that's really where the convergence really lies, is that because Dale is infinite, because once you get past the first Dale, you go Dale to Dale, and Dale builds upon itself to an infinity. So basically, in order to be Dale, you have to really be present and know. This is something I brought up last time, I think. Simultaneity causes insanity without spontaneity. And so therefore, this whole idea of Dale has nothing to do with God or is being in the present moment. And that's really, and if you can set up a continuance of Dale to Dale, just set up bridge to bridge of present moments, you're going to be much happier. That's the way to bliss.
I agree. So let's break down that phrase again, the simultaneity, because I feel like we talked about that. I don't know if we've actually done that on here yet.
Oh, okay.
So simultaneity.
Simultaneity is like the ultimate outgrowth of quantum time. It is basically, in quantum physics they say all events are happening at all times in the present, now, or Dale moment. So basically, simultaneity is where you tap it, you get beyond linear time, and you start swimming in the quantum soup. And simultaneity is when you're like caught in the mist of all the quantum realities that are possible. And that's why it's caused insanity, because it overwhelms the brain. And that's basically what happened to me at Dartmouth. I just basically all my brain filters collapsed, and I was just like overwhelmed by so much information that basically everybody thought I flipped my cookie. So simultaneity, that's what
that's a boomer phrase for going a little cuckoo.
Yeah. Flip my cookie. That's but anyway, so that's what simultaneity is. Everybody knows what insanity is. That's psychosis and hospitals and judgment and authority, running up against authority and everything. But that causes insanity without spontaneity, because spontaneity is the creative force within yourself that allows you to choose between infinite choices to choose the best way forward.
It's like a little alignment detector that keeps you in the flow of who you are and what you're here to do and your authentic expression and all the things we talk about that make life feel like yours.
And that's why I say Dale is outside of time, because a Dale can be 2 seconds or it can be 50 years. I've been Dale in Hackensack for 50 years, and now I'm Dale out of Hackensack, and I'm just so grateful. And on the Thanksgiving week that Andrew basically was the U.S. Cavalry who came in and rescued me from Fort Hackensack.
Yeah, it's a fucking cool story. I don't even give a shit. And that's what we're here. Like, storytelling is part of what this is. I hope you guys can appreciate that on some level. But it's a way. It's how we communicate our experience through the words so far. It seems to be the best way. And we do it other ways, other creative ways, but music, poetry, but those are still like almost like subsets of storytelling in a lot of ways. And so it's about communicating something that can kind of sink in and you feel the energy of, and the story has the power to do that. I don't know, that was a little tangent, but I think it's that story of leaving Hackensack was so cool. All right, we just all of a sudden, poof, one night, we felt the energy just rise between us the night we were planning this trip. Right? I mean, it was powerful. We're this. It feels so in alignment. It feels so true that we just have to fucking go. And so we did. And it felt a little manic if we're going to put it on a spectrum. But who cares, right? It was still grounded. And we traveled and had amazing experiences and then did physically ground into this new space. And even that was a little bit of for a little while, right? Adjusting to it, and him, me being the host and kind of witnessing my guests sort of, adapt to this new space, and ultimately knowing that that we're creating this together. But I felt a certain level of responsibility almost. I don't know. I don't want to fuck up his shit because I just yank him out of his fucking reality, and now
Well, it definitely took time to integrate. It took like five days for me to really, like make the quantum jump. I mean, beyond the trip itself. But I just want to say that I am just like, it's so satisfying and so fulfilling to me to watch you right now, Andrew, because your mind is just like firing like a rocket. It's just like your mind is like just considering possibilities and everything, and everyone that does is a Dale, and you're just going Dale to Dale, and it's just like so great to see your enthusiasm not only for what I represent, but also just coming to terms with your own sense of self-sovereignty and everything.
Thank you, Dale. That's a beautiful reflection. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot percolating. It's been a very activating time these last couple of months. Very activating, and there is a convergence that is happening. That has happened. The convergence has happened, and now it's starting to like ripple out from there. That's how I feel, and we're experiencing that first. We're watching Willow. Sorry. We're experiencing that firsthand here in Colorado Springs for the moment. But everything was like orchestrated perfectly, and that's been life. That is life in the flow of what it is. And so I think the point of telling this story is to offer an example of what it might feel like to be in the flow. And if you know what it feels like, then you can start to like imagine what it is for you. Because it's not going to be the same thing as what we're doing. It's going to be something uniquely yours. But the frequency is very much the same. The underlying current, the tapping into the source, the connection that animates this reality.
And that's the whole thing about Christ consciousness. I mean, wherever you stand with religion, the idea of Christ consciousness is that everybody has the Lord within. Basically, everyone is a fractal of the Lord, and everyone is the Lord. And I made it egotistic, and maybe that's why I've been in Hackensack for 50 years. But what I said to you this morning, Andrew. Dale was not always perfect, but I've always been a perfect Dale.
I think that's a great way to put it. And
it's very obvious that I was not perfect for a very long time.
Well, that's part of the journey. Duh. Like, I don't know, a perfect journey from this very human perspective sounds boring now.
Right.
Because you need some of the shadows to bring contrast to the light. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you don't. I wouldn't put that on anyone else. But my experience has been the people who have the stories to tell, the people who feel the most alive, often have a story of something powerful, something gnarly that they overcame.
Right.
Because it's almost like going to the gym, Like if you don't have anything to train for, or something, like it's just harder to like motivate yourself or something. But when there's real shit to deal with and you got to figure it out, like, and that illusion is so deeply planted in your mind, you do it, right? And then you get to the other side, and all of a sudden you start to see things a little differently. You're like, oh, hold on a second, right? But there seems to be this arc, this narrative that's common to so many people that I encounter. So I don't know, either it's bullshit or it's not, but that's my feeling. And so there is a little bit about friction in this experience. Something about the contrast is juicy. We like it, I think.
Living in 3D, we're defined by polarity, and the idea is to overcome the polarity to reach unity, but it doesn't have to be unity with the collective, it just has to be unity within self.
Yeah, we're really playing around with collective and what it means. I'm kind of making peace with it. I think there's a certain responsibility to the collective. I haven't abandoned it. I want to play with it. I want to make friends with it, but I also don't need to tap into the bullshit, the dark side of the collective, which is what is the news is.
Right.
in my opinion. That's not reality. That's the news. It's a TV show you watch to feel like a certain kind of way. And it's not a certain kind of way that I prefer.
And even if that certain kind of way makes you feel bad, until you realize it's making you feel bad, you're going to just continue to be addicted to it.
Yeah, because it hurts so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to judge you because the news says I can. And I want this. It's like, bro, like... You don't even realize you're just memorizing propaganda and then like acting it out in real time and bringing it into your existence. And why would you want to do that ever if you were consciously creating your existence? And the answer is you wouldn't. At least that's my opinion. And so Christ consciousness to me is about, and God is about acknowledging that you are a creator in your experience, as at least one of your roles in your experience, and to acknowledge that role and take responsibility for that role.
Well, another thing is that, people talk about manifestation and manifesting $1 million and everything, but ultimately everybody's manifesting constantly, like 24 hours a day. I mean, because you're producing your reality, and this is something that neuroscientist lady brought up that I thought we could discuss is, is there actually any external reality? I mean, because she was saying there is no external reality. Everything is a product of your brain. And, I brought up to Andrew that actually the brain is in a void. It needs the senses in order to be able to interact with the world at all. So therefore, when you say that everything is created by the brain, and it gets back to what you said about everything the eye see is a projection of what it thinks it should see. It's so it's sort of like the analogy I was using is if I go fly from Hackensack to Colorado Springs, and my consciousness is completely filled with Hackensack, then if there's no outside reality, then how can I perceive this house and your residence in Colorado Springs as apparently the general consensus sees it? Because if I have no idea what Colorado Springs is like, then how am I going to manifest it without an idea? And
no, it's a fascinating question, and I've heard it asked a few different ways. I think Dolores Cannon used to talk about it a lot.
Right.
Bashar for sure talks about it, and I wouldn't pretend to fully comprehend it. I mean, I think that's part of it. Is like, do I need to understand every little facet of how reality renders? Do I need to understand? Because theoretically, in order to fully understand it, you would have to observe it from a different perspective.
Right. You'd have to observe outside.
So
your
we're
brain.
using English language to communicate something that can't be that we don't probably have language for. So we're finding the words that are closest that point to it, right? I mean, that's what every religion and every ancient text has ever done, is point to the truth. But it's
everybody looks at the finger instead of at the moon.
Right. And so the finger pointing at the famous phrase, the finger pointing at the moon, is not the moon. It's pointing to it. The words describing reality, the words describing salvation are not the it. They point to it. And so even when we're having this discussion about, well, how does reality render? How does Colorado Springs enter your consciousness when you've never experienced it before? I mean, I think, to me, I would have to say there's a base level of reality. I think there's something to that. So when she says everything is created in the mind, I think it's still true. That base level reality is still being perceived through the sensory device and interpreted by the brain. I think that's still facts. And so what she's saying is true, is everything you experience is experienced in your mind. However, it's also experienced by other minds because there is there are consensus components to reality.
Well,
but one last thing I'll say about that is consensus can also shift. That is my opinion.
Right.
And consensus constantly shifts. It's not a static thing. And so reality is more fluid because of that possibility. But it's not as fluid as if I'm making it myself and I can just change anything in the game for everyone, right? I can change certain aspects. There's certain rules I can bend, certain rules I can break. But then there is like a something that kind of holds us all together.
Well, yeah, so what you call consensus, I feel is basically, the foundation, the structural foundation of the earth. And that was and whether you think that's round, flat, or a screen like I do, basically, those are the parameters of God. And basically, God created the external reality for mankind to exist in. And for it, he, she, whatever, God, to experience itself through the extensions. But what I'm just saying,
God got bored and made us. I think that's what happened.
Well,
to play with each other.
Actually, I have a different theory.
Okay.
But my theory is that Rosedale existed before reality, and the warlord came to Rosedale and totally destroyed it. And the only reason the warlord Fred could do that is because we didn't realize there was anything such as war. And now that Fred the warlord is dead, we are returning to a state of Dale Rose. So instead of Rosedale, it's Dale Rose. And basically, we are reestablishing beyond the Edenic, the curse of Adam and Eve. We are getting back to what life should have been before the warlord basically annihilated original Rosedale.
You heard it here first. All I know is I used to like playing disc golf at Rosedale Disc Golf Course in Kansas City, and we drove by it on our way to Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, which was my favorite barbecue joint.
Yep.
That's the earth. That's the grounded version. But yeah, cool, Rosedale. I like it.
But basically, it's just like
Dale Rose.
Dale Rose. But this is what I talk about. Retroactive creation is that there is no beginning and end. There's just the eternal deal between the Alpha and Omega, and every time you think you reach the Omega, it's just another Alpha, and you have to enter another Dale. And so it's an endless process, and but that's also why you can get excited about being immortal, because every Dale is a new dawn. Every dawn is a new Dale. And therefore, all the infinities of the past are irrelevant towards the present moment of that Dale that you're in, looking towards the future.
Call that bars. Dale spit bars over here. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, I mean, it comes back to what we were saying before and what we keep saying, the power of the present. It's not like a new secret. We're not the first person to say it. We're just reminding you, like, holy shit, guys, like, get there. If you're not fucking there, figure it out. Because, like, it's literally all there is. Everything else is just, like, a distraction. And I get it. I like to be distracted sometimes, too. Don't get me wrong. I do it. But it's becoming less and less relevant because I'm understanding more and more that mastering consciousness means just being here. and being here is pretty cool, and it gets cooler the more you're here.
Well, in my journey through 15 hospitalizations, I learned two things. One is that every human being is a precise instrument for perceiving reality, and the second one was all life forms, in order to have validity, must manifest as human. So even the Pleiadians and the Arcturians in my world were transformed into humans through the agency of 6 St. John Daly, and it controlled the mental hospital where I built my spaceship.
Yes, we discussed the Palladians and Arcturians and other...
And don't forget the Atlanteans. They're coming back.
What about the Lemurians, bro?
Oh, the Lemurians, of course, yeah.
Yeah, but those are all now.
And quantum reality, yeah.
Right. And so we're not going there or coming back. We're fucking now.
And we're also not going there because we're attracting.
Correct.
We're the gravitational forces keeping everything together.
Lemuria's going to come knocking at our door like, hey, can we hang out? What you're doing sounds cool. And I don't know what that looks like, but that's the essence of it. And, whatever it was then is only like, it's useful to the extent we can learn from it, I guess, right? But ultimately, it's most useful, in my opinion, to learn from where you're at.
Right.
And that's the point of Daling, is to remind yourself, oh, I'm fucking here. I'm in Colorado Springs. I do have my feet on the ground. There is a grounding to my reality. And this is my point of power. And that point can move. You're allowed to move around the world. But this is where you have something. Not in Lemuria, not in Arcturia, or whatever the fuck. Pleiades. It's like, those are all, I'm sure, fascinating places to imagine and experience. But we're here.
So
we're here.
And talking about here, one of the practices I've adopted in Colorado Springs is on clear nights I have a clear view of Polaris. So I just sit on the back porch, smoking a joint and looking at Polaris, knowing that Polaris is the living room of God. And I'm just sitting there talking with God and saying, okay, these are light streams. We're shooting light beams through Polaris into the living room of God just to manifest there. And that's really all you need to know about heaven, is that you can access heaven through contemplation of Polaris, which is God's living room.
One of infinite ways to access the realm, the kingdom. But yes, anything that brings you into that state. I mean, you felt the energy of that state, right? I want to be in the living room of God. That sounds dope. Yeah, so for sure, let's use our imaginations.
Yeah, I always knew. Okay, about God. Dale is God. So basically, there's Dale and there's female Dale too. And in my baby Rosewood Seed Walk in 1978, I created female Dale, and actually I had a 2-week illicit affair with her about 3 months after my baby Rosewood Seed Walk. But basically, with female Dale and Dale together, we are an ideal reflection of the human possibilities before God. And I never, even when I said I was God, I meant it as a joke, because I know that God exists. And basically what my subconscious ambition was when I said I was God was to be a living incarnation of God, so that we could put this whole is God dead or does God exist, and this whole bullshit argument to rest. Because I in the program I used to come in and people would be watching programs about does God exist, and I'd say, well, I exist, and so I mean God, So I just figured out that God stands for good old Dale.
That feels like a Dale to me, brother. I don't know. What does that feel like to you?
Well, it's a little short, but well, let me. Oh, actually, we need to read Sid.
There we go.
So we're at a new chapter about thought, and maybe I'll read 2 pages because this is pretty hot stuff. Thought is a divine tool, nothing more, nothing less, only a tool. A wise person, like a good tradesman, uses his tool to the best of his or her ability. The power of thought is not self-created. Thought is a divine gift which serves you immediately after you are born. Thought is the creative energy we use to direct us through life. Thought is the master key that opens the world of reality to all living creatures. Thought is the missing link, the name of the book, The Missing Link, that gives us the power to recognize the illusionary separation between the spiritual world and the world of form. So that's really like a deep thought. Thought is the missing link that gives us the power to recognize the illusionary separation between the spiritual world and the world of form, the world of 3D.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in the latest Christ consciousness lesson 11, there's an exercise, I was mentioning it to you, where you kind of practice ascending and descending into, like, different realms of consciousness, right? And so you come down to 3D and feel, all these things, and then you rise up into a more, third-party perspective and kind of observe, and occupy a more neutral space, I suppose. And to play with that and feel like the joining of the poles once you kind of master that. And I don't know what true mastery looks like. That's a weird word, but I know what that feels like, and I do it, and I know you do too. And so, Emma on the Brain was telling us how affirmations are like a way to get your self-talk started going in the right direction. And I believe, meditation is a way to start activating your ability to be multidimensional,
right.
Truly multidimensional in this realm. And that starts to eliminate the polarity, because you can choose to engage with it however you want. And if you want to get in the mix and do some shit, you can. And if you want to observe it and kind of let it happen, you can also do that. And it gives you a degree of autonomy and mastery over how you're not so easily pulled by
right.
these externalities. That's, I guess, is kind of the idea. And so these are some of the tools in the toolkit to start to level up your game if it's feeling a little off, or you feel like you struggle with maintaining that sort of centered feeling or that open heart. These things that really help us feel more human.
Well, I just want to say I'm going to toot my own horn for a second, because basically I feel I figured out the secret to life, and basically turn yourself into a starship and then go through the 9 levels of possible human experience. And as Dale, Dewey, Do, Duck, Genius, then Roger, Deuster, Stizonian, and Dialina. And those are basically the nine levels of consciousness that I've experienced. And actually 9 is fine with me. I don't need it anymore. And I see all these, I see people with having channeling. I have 44 personalities and everything. I don't want 44 personalities. I'm very happy with my 9, because I came up with them myself, and I know that these are the people that I've been in my journey, and they're all part of the Dialina, which is my spaceship, and also the new genetic code. Started with DNA, and now it's Dialina.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think I think that's the second Dale. But let's leave him laughing. So did I should I do the 524 joke?
Sure, I don't give a shit. We're an hour in. Why not?
Okay, well, so there's this newlywed couple, and because of their work schedules, they always make love at 5:24. So, because they have different work schedules. So the bride gets a virus and goes to the doctor and gets an antibiotic. So she takes it, and there is 3 viruses left, and they meet in the stomach, and they say, "What are you going to do?" So first virus goes, "I'm going to the top of the ears. They'll never find me there." Second virus goes, "I'm going to the end of the big toe. I'll be safe there." Third virus goes, "I don't know about you guys, but when the old 524 pulls out tomorrow, I'm going to be on it." So leave them laughing.
Indeed. All right, y'all. Thanks for conspiring us once again. Episode 35 of the Do and Drew Conspiracy.
We're more than a third of the way to 100.
Yeah. Sending you all the love.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.